finance the project as long as the paperwork was not done by them. As far as,
Okay, let's ask First Wind to come in too. I'd like to have a conservation in too, please. And we'll do that in 2 weeks so we can try to get this thing settled once and for all. I would also request, and I know that people don't like us using council, but this is kind of sticky legal thing. Run it by council, we don't have to ask anybody to come in, but just run the minutes that we have tonight by council, and we'll go from there. Come on, everybody comes back in 2 weeks, please, and we'll see what we can find out. Yes.
Speak of First Wind, as far as conversations ahead with Neil Kiley. As of about a week ago, he stated to me that the funding for additional construction was closed, the account had been closed, that the project would not continue to, as far as talking about extending the pipe. I had been called from their conservation people in request to file, I believe what's called an RDA form in regards to the wetlands that are back there. And they wanted me to pull the permit for that, which they were going to pay for, and pull the permit for the addition of the pipe, which didn't make any sense because I only own 8 feet to the, to the property line. As far as I knew, none of this was going to be documented, as far as putting it on a site map. Really, the biggest issue in all this is no one owns this pipe, according to the easement legally. The pipe, measured at the street in the culvert is 24 inches on the inlet and exits at 18 inches through a metal pipe, about 23 feet in length, and then is attached to 330 feet of plastic pipe. According to conservation, the exiting pipe, if they're supposed to exit somewhere, I can validate with pictures, and whoever would like to come to the property, that it's the last 100 feet is at the surface of the ground, which is frost even. There's erosion near my septic field. But I really have nothing else to say. We can come back in 2 weeks. So.
All right, when you come back, could you please bring some of the pictures that you talked about, of the erosion, of everything else that you talked about, please? I'm not sure we're gonna solve it, but I think we at least know better where we stand.
Sure.
So I think we invite First Wind and the new company in, and everybody that's here tonight.
You plan on going up this week?
I can do that, yes.
Would you let me know when you go?
Yeah, I'll get in touch with Mr. and Mrs. Williams and get in contact with me when they'll be available. I can meet them up there at the time.
Okay. 2 weeks.
Has conservation had a chance to look at the pipes, the diameter of the pipes, is it true that it's 24 to 18? Yes. But the other pipe was 24, it was.
All right, thank you.
6:30, same time.
What's convenient for everybody, 6:30? Probably, 6:30. All right. Now, I'm gonna skip a couple things for right now because I have Nardi Engineering coming in at 7:15, and I have Senior Center Director position, but I'm knowing that we have Nardi at 7:15, I'm going to skip to Emergency Management, Mr. O'Brien.
I wanted to raise one point actually on your request, Mr. Chairman, at the previous meeting, regarding how we're going to manage the emergency management system following the resignation of Buzz Rush. And in the process, I have submitted some documentation. I wanted to point out, it's a good opportunity to point out that this position is not the same as it was 5 years ago. At that time, a part-time person could probably do a pretty good job at the emergency management director responsibility. But the whole thing has grown into a big monster now as to the total responsibilities required for that position. And this is not only coordination with NEMA and FEMA, attending their meetings, but covering much more required training requirements by MEMA, grant acquisition, which is a big one for us, training of personnel, equipment procurement, trying to build an emergency response trailer, which we're doing now, out of the budget that is allocated for the town, on the town, and safety equipment for our volunteers. So the position has really grown very considerably, and in talking with other emergency management directors in other towns, and also our police chief and fire chief, there's no doubt in everybody's mind that this is a full-time or near full-time position if the job is done properly. And I strongly believe we owe this to the community, even though we are a volunteer organization at this stage. It's a very important function in the event of any disaster. Of course, we also support police and fire on a lesser extent, whether it's conducting traffic control during town events, either here or in West Brookfield. And in that process, we actually save the town's budgets quite a considerable amount, since they don't have to have police details doing the work. They use us instead at no cost. So you had asked what is our recommendation, how to manage the group. In the meantime, till we can fill that position, and I strongly feel we should fill that position, and not try to sort of hobble along in the meantime with a couple of us. Jim McCann is here as a CERT team leader. I'm a CERT coordinator, and between us in the meantime, we're sort of splitting up responsibilities and trying to keep the thing afloat. Probably my immediate biggest concern is grant acquisition. There are a number of grants that we really must apply for in order that we can provide equipment, safety equipment, communications equipment, and so forth, and fit out the emergency response trailer. We too can manage it in the meantime, but I wouldn't want the town to think that this is an ongoing way of managing the whole emergency management team. It does need a dedicated person. So I am recommending to the board that we actually advertise this position and see what the response might be. We need somebody to come in and help us on this. Advertising an unpaid position is a tough one to find the sort of quality of individual that's needed for this job and with the correct background. And I don't know if there's any way perhaps some of the budget can be allocated as a stipend or just something to make it of more interest to a potential emergency management director. That's really the sort of the guts of our feeling, of our joint opinion as to how this can be managed in the meantime. I do earnestly recommend that we do advertise this position as soon as possible. It will take time, whatever, to get somebody on board. And I don't believe anybody in the police department or fire department really wants to do the job on top of their existing jobs.
Okay, now I see a couple of it, and I did read both your memos, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, and one of the things, and that was your memo number 2.
Yep.
And that was a question pertaining that I had, I guess, pertaining to make sure you're covered for insurance and so forth.
Yes.
And you talked to various police and fire chiefs in the area, saying that how you would be covered and so forth, and that I think 2 or 3 of the towns that named their members as a special municipal employees.
Yeah. That was probably only Hardwick. They did go ahead and do that.
Let's see, it says,
It's been suggested from West Brookfield Police Chief, Tom O'Donnell, that might happen also in West Brookfield. But there's been no final resolution to that question from them. Tom Ford of Sturbridge is clearly of the opinion that you don't need to have a special town employee, but as long as all the work is conducted under the direction of the police department or the emergency management director, town government, then we should be automatically covered under town liability insurance. There was one question about workman's comp, if any of the volunteers were injured. And this is according to NEMA, that some towns have taken out an insurance rider at very little cost, just for that specific possibility.
that was one of my main concerns. I want to make sure if something happens, that the people are covered. I don't want somebody to get hurt and be out of work for a year, 2 years, or whatever,
Correct.
and have nothing to show for it. Any questions from the board?
No, I'm pretty much in agreement with even with what it says on there. We either ought to take out a rider. I think they're covered anyway.
Yeah, I think they are too, but I think just to be
The rider
safe,
is not a bad idea.
what if we were to do this, to put an intent article on the fall special town meeting to have money to take out a rider for that purpose?
Works for me.
So let's have an intent article, we'll see what it would cost to take out insurance for that special, and how about the special town employees? Is the board feel that we should appoint them special town employees?
It would seem like we do one or the other. If we can take out a rider, then you wouldn't have to special. If we do special, I don't think you need a rider.
Okay, then let me ask this, would you rather do special, or would you rather do the rider?
I'd rather do rider.
Okay, we'll do the rider then. We'll take care of it for you. Now, the other thing that you bring up, for a emergency management director and try to make it paid, the only way we could allocate money for that position would be to do it at an annual town meeting. We can't create a position until an annual. Town people have to vote on it, and it has to be a line item in the budget in order to take care of that. So I think what we probably should do is to send that to the finance committee and see what send the finance committee a copy of this, tell them that we're going to try to take out insurance for that, and to request that the finance committee discuss the possibilities of a director, paid director.
So,
And as far as you're recommending also right now that you and Mr. McCune split the duties until we find somebody?
as best we can, my biggest concern is grant application. We don't have the experience of doing that.
We'll get to that in a minute,
Okay?
all right? Is there any problem appointing them, both of them, as a co-emergency managed directors for the time being?
Not a problem with me. I thought
Then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. It's made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Secondly, or thirdly, I guess, could we send a letter, or contact, I'll say, the planning board and tell the planning board that we've had a request for someone to help write grants for the emergency management director and the committee, and that if they would consider allowing Mr. Scanlon to help in that concern. We have to get approval from the planning board to do that.
That would be a great help.
So we will do that. Like I said, we have to wait. We'll get a hold of them, and if the planning board says fine, we have limited hours, that's the reason I'm saying that. But if the planning board says okay, you'll have somebody to help you.
Thank you. My only other question is really, Lorena, you were looking into insurance and getting advice from town council, so we know exactly where we stand from a legal, financial, or insurance standpoint.
We'll find out.
That'd be good. I know Loretta's working
Yep.
on that. Equally, the town of West Brookfield is doing the same thing
Mhm.
through their own insurance carrier
Yeah.
and legal.
So we will find out, and we'll also see what it can be paid out of. We have an insurance account, but we'll have to check and see if we could use that. So, yes.
Now, as interim directors here,
Mhm.
can we have something in writing? Or-
We'll send, what we'll do is we'll send you an appointment certificate naming you co-directors. And you take it in, get sworn into town clerk. That'll cover you. Anything else?
No, except we are operating currently. We were at the road race on Sunday, conducting traffic control under police direction. So we are still doing that, despite some of these questions still being up in the air. Whereas West Brookfield has said, no, stop. They want to be more, they want to be better satisfied as to the conditions for proceeding. So, you know, anything that can be done to help this issue would be much appreciated.
We'll see, we'll get, I'm sure Lorena, knowing that she tries to take care of it as soon as she can, will do everything she possibly can to get answers.
Thank you very much.
All right? Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Very good, thank you. All right. 7:15, and for one short time. The Nardi Engineering for Town Hall remediation.
Yes, sir.
And great, just have your name for the record, please.
Sure, Ken Hodgson, Nardi Engineering.
Now, you probably have somewhat of an idea why we asked you here, to a certain degree. And I guess I'm gonna tell you what I think. We know there's been a lot of changes and so forth with Leonard Engineering. When we had Scott here, it just seemed like Leonard was more receptive to what we were trying to do. We understand he's gone. Then we had another person, then we had another person, and now we have another person. This is about the fourth engineer that we've had, or fourth person trying to help us get this done. The board has had a lot of complaints pertaining to how fast the town hall operations are going. And I have to admit, very rightfully so. We've been dragging our feet on this and dragging our feet on this, and I say we, I have to blame the Board of Selectmen and me as the chairman, but then I'm gonna also say it's also for Leonard Engineering. It is unacceptable to us to keep changing engineers, number one. Number two, it's unacceptable that we find out after the fact that another engineer is gone. So we are very concerned about the fact of how long it's taking and so forth. I'm just not right now, I'm just gonna turn to the other two members and see if they'd like to add anything.
No, I'm good.
I will say, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, I was at the point to ask the other two board members to terminate the contract with Leonard Engineering. I'm not trying to be necessarily bad, but it can't keep going the way it's going. It has to get better, the town hall has to be done. Leonard Engineering was in there, and a couple of things that we asked specifically were, let's do something on a portico type of thing so we can get all the concrete abutments out of there. Let's get going on it. We're still under a certain order from the Board of Health. While it hasn't hindered us too much right now, it could in the future. We really want something done. What I will do right now, before I let you answer anything, is there anybody from Friends of the Town Hall would like to ask a question?
Kathy? I have issues about, the roof still, about that contract that we were trying to find about the
The
warrant.
contract with the roof, Leonard doesn't have yet. So
Okay.
we have to limit it to,
But weren't you gonna check with them that they might have it or something?
we were gonna check with the,
Rebecca Sarah is actually working with Michael Brown at Greenwood Industries at the moment.
so we're still trying to get a
Okay.
copy of it.
Thank you.
Okay, that we didn't forget.
Okay, because I know there's a time limit to that. That's another issue.
I think if we make the concern right now, if we made a concern about the problems with the roof, I think we fall under the contract saying that we made the concern before the end of the warranty period,
Okay, good.
so.
So they're aware of our concern, your concern about the roof, so it's been noted.
Okay.
So it's honored, it's not
Okay.
expire.
Okay, good.
Now, the friends of the town hall, who have been busy raising money and so forth to try to help fix it, have asked us, we originally, when we started this, we were going to put a committee in, and at some point, because it dragged a little bit, we asked, should I see that for a second? Now, that comment, I made that comment before, that we were going to form a committee. At the point, we got to that point, I said I'd like to appoint one, and that have the committee be the ones that focus it. And the comment was made last week, or the last meeting, that never happened. The minutes of July 2nd, 2013, and I'm just going to read it very quickly. I'm not going to. It says, Mr. Delanski requested to get a committee together to decide what gets done with the renovations at the town hall. The Board of Selectmen will hire the architect and engineer. The committee will make the decision as to what work gets done first. There is $150,000 appropriated at special town meeting, an additional $23 from some time ago, for a total of $173,000. A forum how to decide proceed is needed. A motion to appoint a committee to handle the renovations at the town hall was made by Mr. Delanski, second by Mr. Lavash. Mr. Delanski asked Mrs. Prokop to prepare and place a public advertisement for 5, possibly 7 members to join this committee. The committee, to be comprised of town residents, letters of interest should be submitted to the Board of Selectmen within the next 2 weeks. Applicants are reviewed at the next meeting of August 7th. On the meeting for August 7th, it was a agenda for appointments to the Town Hall Committee, and I'm just going back to show you that it was actually done. There was a item on the minutes for August 7th saying, Sue Como stated she felt, given the time frame, allowed immediate action to be taken by the selectmen. Mr. Mungeon agreed and feels that the environmental issue should be addressed, and then further discussion can take place regarding Mrs. Buck's request for access to the building. And it was the intent to have a committee, and it was never done because it was decided we thought we could get it done, or that people thought we could get it done quicker. That was just to point out that that's what we wanted originally. So, I think that I'm going to get back to Metropolitan Engineering. The intent of the board, I think at the present time, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, is that we're going to have a committee to do it, not particularly the Friends of the Town Hall, but a committee that Leonard Engineering will work with to decide what gets done first and so forth and so on. The idea came up last week even that, are we going to have a engineer? That was brought up last week. Well, we did some research on that. The building is over 3,500 square feet, or 35,000 square feet, whatever. And because of that, I talked to the building department, and you have to have an engineer, or they won't allow it to be illegal, and the building inspector could stop it. So I guess right now where we stand is, gentlemen?
Yep, I have a few things I wanted to say. You want me to wait?
1 second. So I think what we're looking for now is that we need some reassurances that the project is going to proceed rapidly now. No more new engineers or anything like that, but proceed rapidly, and let's get it done. The board is going to turn over who decides that to a committee rather than the Board of Selectmen. So if you can tell us that, and it has to proceed rapidly. We have to get it done. Winter's coming.
My turn?
Yep.
It's certainly true, there's been a few turnovers. I've been at Lennart since January. At first, I didn't have much involvement with this. Once Joe Devine came in, I think there was a presentation he made here some months ago. I was here. Right after that point, I started sharing in his information, so I've been, in contact with what's been going on. I've been copied in the emails and so forth. The status of where things are, Russo Bar has a contract and they're ready to go. They're the big player right now that's gonna do their evaluation. I put them on hold a couple weeks ago pending this meeting. They think they can have their field work done in 2 weeks and a report in the following week. And that's the big item, and that speaks to the portico as well. You can't make any decisions until they do their evaluation of the portico. That's part of their scope of work. Something did happen with the contract somewhere along the line, and you know, maybe that's partly our fault. We were not in the loop. We thought the contracts were going straight from Russo Bar to the Selectmen and back and forth, and we all of a sudden got a call from Russo Bar saying, we haven't got a contract signed yet. You know, can you intercede and figure it out for us? Well, I did. We got the contract signed and they're ready to go. Ultimate is the other player that we have an estimate from. And as I understand it, you accepted their estimate. They came in with some proposals. However, there is not a contract, so a couple of weeks ago, I asked in email, how does the board want to work this? It's a $4,500 contract, something like that. You can give them a verbal, you can do a CO, or we can ask them to put something in writing for you to sign, or you could have town council write up something as you did for Russo Bar. So I need some direction on that, as to what you want.
Let me ask one question, and this came up and I almost forgot about it, I just thought about it. One of the questions that came up is when Scott was there was a big report done as to what has to get done and so forth and so on. Then the question was asked after the last meeting, we were going to okay for a report to be done. It seems like it is a duplication of efforts if we already had one from when Scott was there.
I've seen that report, and I believe it was a very first flush look at the overall structure, sort of outlining some of the things that needed to go on in more depth. This report and investigation that Russo Bar is going to do is a more in-depth report. They were asked to look at some specific items, not looking at everything, but some specific items have been pulled out. And I think a lot of what's been happening is, you know, as funds are available and as the town can go forward, and as the need is, like the first phase was like, okay, you gotta get the police station cleared. And some of the other things have gone a little bit piece at a time. I think it could go bigger, but it certainly involved a lot more money.
All right, let me, Marilyn, go ahead.
Okay, I just have a few concerns. With the Russo Bar contract, when they're talking about the portico, I think, my opinion is that we know what's wrong with the building. What we need to do is get people in to give us prices to fix it. Under number 1, for the main entrance for the portico, it's going to be evaluate the condition of the roof and the stone masonry with a limited structural evaluation. I think what we want to know is what the cost is going to be. We know there's issues. We don't need somebody else to tell us there's issues. We need to get it fixed. The next thing is windows. I don't see why we need to pay Russo Bar to say that the windows are bad. We know the windows are bad. Get a hold of some window companies or get quotes or bids or whatever. We don't need to expend more money. The moisture infiltration, we already know what the problem is. The problem is we got that, the basement is dirt, and Scott said it needs to be concreted, and then you need to moisture-proof the walls. I just don't see where spending another $9,500 needs to be done. I think we just need to get the people in to get the quotations and put it out to bid. Ultimate is fine. That's what we need to do, is finish the asbestos. That's where I have a problem, because the windows aren't any part of the $150,000. You know, the moisture I can see, but we know what the issues are. I mean, I don't know why we need another engineer. You know, we need a historical person to come say, okay, here's the costs, and do it. You know, historical engineer, architect, whatever we need, but not just somebody come in. We just want prices. It's time to, you know, has gone. which comes to another thing I just wanted to mention too, is that, and I know Bill Scanlon's here, and I'm sure you all heard, I think, we just read in the newspaper, North Brookfield,
Yeah.
Senator Brewer got $3 million, got that town $3 million, $2 million for a fire station, and they just got $1 million non-matching grant to fix their town hall. I think, we need to have somebody looking to get some money to help us out. And, there's gotta be grants out there, whether they're historical, cultural, to fix up the upstairs, restoration. I know Barry can tell you that, I think that's probably where North Brookfield got the $1 million. I don't know why we can't have you ask the planning board to have him start looking to find grants to get us money to help.
Okay, thank you. So I guess what we're looking for tonight is a reassurance that there'll be no more changes of engineers, there'll be no more, I call it foot dragging, because that's what I think it is. We can't keep doing it. I mean, Leonard Engineering has another gigantic project for us that they worked on. Okay, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I mean, I usually don't pull punches. If you didn't have the other contract with us, for the downtown area, I would have recommended terminating the other contract. Okay, I'm concerned about the fact that one could affect the other. I'm not saying it would, but I'm saying I am definitely concerned, because that one's going out to bid in about 2 weeks, from my understanding. So we would be looking for some type of assurance from Leonard Engineering that whoever assigned as an engineer to this task now is the one we're gonna have till completion, or at least for a reasonable length of time.
Yeah, well, I'm the office manager in Auburn, I've been around for a long time, I live in the area, so, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. One thing I think you do have to realize is that a lot of what we're doing here is putting together subcontracts. We're helping you with that. There isn't a whole lot, we're not doing a whole lot of engineering with this. And if you're going into something in terms of talking about taking the entire building and putting out a contract to rebuild the whole building, you need a full architectural company to come in and do that. That's a lot different than the remediation type projects that we have been handling for you. So it's
We
like
understand.
2 different things.
You're actually acting, what you're basically doing at this time is acting as the clerk of the works.
Yeah, we're facilitating the different contracts that come
Right.
in and doing the different phases that you're asking us to do.
So, any other board member want to say anything?
Yeah, we were supposed to be doing this in stages. We were doing the basement in stage 1, and I understood they were starting to work on stage 2. And stage 2 seemed they were not having.
Well, we had, as I said, the Russo Bar contract, we went back and forth. They gave us a contract, I think, sometime in May, but it had conditions the town council didn't find acceptable, went back to them. They thought they had mailed it out to the town in the middle of June. When they started looking for work in July, they realized they didn't have a contract back. So there was some sort of a mix-up there, but we did get on top of that. And you folks signed the contract, got it back to them, and they were all ready to go when we were asked to put it on hold for a while. So, but they're ready to go now. I talked to him earlier this week, and he thinks he can be out in 2 weeks. And the other, ultimate is the other one, I think the only other thing that's hanging. And we just need to find a form for the contract that you're comfortable with. It's less than $10,000, you can call them up and tell them to go. All right, I think you probably want something written.
Let me ask this question to the board members at this point. One of the things we talked about, and I think we told the people the last time we were in here, we had no problem establishing a committee. Is that still correct? So I guess the first thing we're going to do is establish a committee. There will be some people from the Friends of the Town Hall on it, some people that aren't on the Friends of the Town Hall on it. I would ask at this point, do we want to put a member of the Board of Selectmen on it? Okay. Do you have any problem with that?
I don't have a problem with that.
So I guess tonight, I want to get this thing going if we're going to do it. Friends of the Town Hall, who do you think from your group would like to be on it?
Well, when we have our next meeting, we'll discuss it.
Well, the problem, okay, remember, I'll do that,
Yeah,
But remember one thing, now,
we've been waiting, Dave.
we're delaying it again.
Yes, but we've gone through this already. We had our committee. We've asked you to go, that we thought the engineer was gonna, expedite everything, and so.
We just said that, we know that.
Yeah.
We know that.
Okay. So
Okay.
this is just,
I'm just saying, if you want to have another meeting, I don't know when your next meeting is.
right,
Kathy,
yeah.
ask them how many members they're gonna meet.
How many members are you gonna have?
We were talking 5 before.
Five, I think.
Five in here,
I think we'll have 5.
But we really need to, we vote. I mean, we do have.
I understand.
We'll all get together and we'll make a
You wanted 2
vote.
friends of the town hall, 2 to 1.
Correct. Two from Friends of the Town Hall, 2 not from the Friends of the Town Hall, and 1 member of the board.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you need to have someone from the Historic Commission on that board?
I would
It's a
say so. I would
historic
say so.
Harry, you should be.
We could do that. I don't know if we have to, but I don't have a problem with it.
Just to keep that open, that door
Mhm.
open.
So let's do this. You know when your next meeting is yet?
No, but we could
All
put
right.
one together.
Submit 2 names to the Friends of the Town Hall. We have 2 openings.
I would like to have 2 friends of the town hall, 2 friends not of the town hall, and if we need a historical commission, we can call them and ask them to come in.
Yep, that's fine. We can, so voting members of it, or the members of the committee, there'll be 5 members, 2 from the Friends of the Town Hall, 2 not from the Friends of the Town Hall. Let's advertise that, Lorena, and tell them that we have to have the names for the
How about
next
a
meeting.
contractor? Someone that understands all of this too, what the price is.
Contractor can be either
That would
way,
be
Friends of the
really
Town
great,
Hall or
yeah.
not Friends of the Town Hall.
Yeah, a local contractor would be good.
So anybody that wants to put their names in.
Thank you.
1 member of the board, we will appoint our member of the board at the next meeting, and we'll go from there. Now, the other question becomes is, do we want to release the contracts or not? Or do we want to wait until we have the,
Can I just ask a clarifying question about the committee first? You would want people to get their names into Lorena before the next meeting so that you can appoint at the next
they
meeting?
will be appointed at the next
Okay,
meeting.
thank you.
And then what we're going to, the board, at that point, is going to turn over the overseeing of the whole thing to that committee. So we will get those names for you.
And what happens with this contract that he has right now with this? Are they gonna start in 2 weeks, or are they waiting for us now?
I think what you're gonna do is, we want to get it going, but if we're gonna turn it over to the committee's gonna have to make the decision.
Okay, so where do we stand right now? Does that mean we're waiting for 2 weeks now for us to get together and then 2 weeks here?
Why couldn't we sign the contracts now and let them get involved?
Yes, definitely. Why wait a minute
That's the
longer?
next step.
Madeline?
I'm sorry.
So the contract is gonna produce estimates of what the projects are gonna cost.
That's correct.
That what he said,
That's what we've asked for cost.
okay?
Is that correct?
This first one, Caruso Bar is doing an investigation to define the problem.
That's right, that's what I just said.
We already know the problem.
That's right, that's what I said.
Specific areas. And I think they have some estimates, but they're not doing a design. They're not doing, what it sounds like is you're looking for a design of new windows. They're not doing that.
Then there's no,
Windows weren't part of this.
well, let's say
There was
this.
supposed to be asbestos tiles on the floor. There was supposed to be paint chipping on the walls that had to be redone. There was chipping on the radiators that had to be redone. All that was part of this original
That's right.
package when we put this together. It had nothing to do with the windows.
Ultimate, I mean, Caruso Bar's contract, part of it is looking at the windows, part of it's looking at the lead. There's a number of items in there, I don't have them all memorized, but it's investigated, and they're looking at those specific areas. I think there was some looking at a roof area. Of course, but it's not,
Maybe we do need the committee first.
what I'm trying to tell you is, it is not designing new features so that you can go out to bid and get contractor prices. It is not that level of design.
But
That's, you're not getting that for $9,500. That's a much
All right, then let's do this. We're not gonna sign any contracts for the time being, number one. We're going to, within the next 2 weeks, at the next meeting, we're gonna appoint the committee and let the committee contact this gentleman, okay? And see if you can set up a meeting date and go from there. So what we're looking for now is 2 members from your committee and 2 members that are not on the Friends of the Town Hall. And we will ask somebody from the Historical Commission to come in as needed.
So does that mean 95, he needs $9,500 before we can do anything
No.
with him?
No.
Is that?
No,
Okay, so why can't we proceed with what he's doing?
because it's not giving us prices. It's
I
giving
see.
us evaluation, and we already have an
Yeah,
evaluation.
okay.
Okay. Tom?
I'm just, it just seems case after case after case it's, let's get a price on moving the asbestos. Now let's ask company C on how much it's gonna be to remove this asbestos. It's not even how much to remove it, it's like, does asbestos need to be removed? And then let's ask company D, does the asbestos need to be removed? Yeah,
That's the reason we're saying,
We just said.
I know, but why does it just keep going and going and going?
It's been done in phases. That first phase was looked at, and now this is looked at another
Don't you
area.
need to make a commitment on each phase, instead of saying, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this? Do this in 90 days, do this in
all
120
right,
days?
let's do this. Get the committee, and we're gonna have, you're gonna meet with this gentleman, and the committee can make the decision, because let's go from there. Yes, Madeline?
Okay, I think ultimate abatement we should do and get them going to remove. the
I'm sorry, say that again?
Ultimate abatement
Yeah.
company for this $4,500, $4,050 for the rest of removal of the asbestos and stuff. You should act and have them finish that project.
Is that one of the contracts on hold?
Yes.
That is the one that you accepted the price, they were the low price of the
Mhm.
section, and this is for the tile. But what we have is an estimate, we do not have a contract with them. So you need to have a decision as to what form of contract you want town council to draw up the contract for them.
Yes, I would be in favor of that.
Hmm?
We already got the price on that, I would be in favor of that.
Yeah, we have a price and a scope, it was just written as an estimate.
And that could be in process while we're putting together the committee. So the committee's sitting there
I
saying,
don't
okay,
have
we
a
did
mo-
this,
I don't
we
have a
did
problem
that.
with that.
That's right.
Yeah, you could issue a PO for that.
Okay, is the consensus of the board to issue that?
Yes.
All right, we're gonna issue a PO tomorrow. Lorena will call and we'll give a PO to do that. In the meantime, what, Madeline?
I was just, what now? Don't say it like that. I was just curious how the rest of the little bit of work that was supposed to be being done down there, like the steam cleaning of the carpet, the air fresheners,
I think we should leave that to the committee.
You're gonna send that through the committee.
send it to the committee.
They don't exist yet.
If the committee wants to be the ones to decide how to do it.
This is all,
Stuff that was supposed to be.
Supposed to
it's
be done.
it's technically maintenance and utilities.
And-
But that has nothing to do with the committee. That is separate than the condemnation order. This was just small recommendations that I don't think should be in the committee's responsibility.
And why can't the committee put together and either come to the selectmen or go down to the chief and say, we want to get this done now?
Well, it's not up to us to go to the chief. It's up to you people to tell the chief to
That's
fix
what I
it.
said,
You're
to
the
have the
boss.
committee come to the selectmen.
The janitor.
And keep it in the same order, so that all the thing is coming from the same place.
We have. Been asked.
What is it exactly, Madeline, I'm sorry? That we're looking for the chief to act on this with the janitor at the building? That's not being done?
By the way, I would volunteer to be on that.
Yeah, we're just not gonna play until next week, next meeting.
G through M, if you want to pass it down to me. Or you want a copy too?
No, it's all right.
Cleaning the carpet, get a road inspector in there, has that happened?
Fix the doors and the water.
We'll take the condemnation.
That memo date, Mr. Delanski?
stuff. We can tell them they should have it.
I know.
We're not doing all of them. Some of them we can't. Yeah, we know those.
Still think it all should come from the same thing.
Probably what.
Mhm.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying.
There's gonna be 3 people directly into that one.
Right. Yeah, none of that's been done. It isn't our job.
That's your question, Stan. This was dated July 24th, 2013.
That's not the original combination.
No. There's certain things on here, Madeline, you said C through M, some of them we can't do.
Like what?
I'm gonna tell you what we can do.
No, not C, I'm not talking
said
about G. I said G.
G through M.
G through M.
Well, we can't have the police chief do D, we can't have the police chief do E.
I didn't say those.
G.
G. G is in
D.
George. G is in
Oh,
George.
okay. We can have, the only one I see that we might have problems doing is ensure leaks are repaired, that's the roof. That's not the chief.
Right.
L and M, install local ventilation to dispatch area restroom. We could have to hire somebody to do that, we could tell them to do that.
Steam clean the carpets.
Excuse me?
Steam clean the carpets. You hire somebody to come in to come clean.
I didn't say he couldn't.
Yeah, well, but nobody's told him to do it and it hasn't been done.
Uh-huh. Fine. I would be in favor of doing the ones that are directing the chief to take care of those.
Thank you.
So it's F through L with the exception of I. Excuse me?
Yeah.
How about the?
Madam, with F through L with the exception of I.
We've got a maintenance budget.
Correct.
Maintenance on the building.
How about the door, David? I mean, has that,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
something
And that's
the water
something
going
he
in.
should be looking at too.
I mean,
He's got building money.
there's water going in there, and we've just had a lot of work done in there. So why is that not being done? We were waiting for $9,500 to pay someone on a contract to do what? I mean, the water's going in the cellar.
Well, the water's not gonna stop going in the cellar, Kathy, if you replace the door, to be perfectly honest with you, it's not gonna happen.
But it sure will stop some of it, I would think.
And not most of it, though. Most
Have
of
you
it comes
seen the
in
door?
because
Have you gone there and looked?
most of it comes in because it's leaking through the foundation.
Which
The
is-
foundation is that bad.
And we've talked about that, we thought that was going to be done.
Okay, you know what?
I'm sorry.
Come back in 2 weeks
Yep.
with some numbers, with some names. We'll get the other part of it. What we're doing now is we're going to instruct the chief to take care of the items on there with his maintenance budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right?
Yep.
And then the door and everything else, we can take care of. But I gotta tell you, the door, historically, is probably gonna cost you a lot of money.
We had an
The
estimate.
side
We had an estimate from
$1,000.
from Lowe's.
Steel core door.
But remember, how can I put this? You can't just change doors,
Yes, I know that.
okay? So it has to be, if you're gonna restore it historically,
It's a
you have-
historical quote.
you have to have some type of a door that was there.
Yes, we know.
We know,
That wouldn't be steel.
but we had that. We went to a historical place and got an estimate,
Mhm.
and that's what they said it would cost.
So we'll talk about it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we'll have the one contract will be awarded, has been awarded. We'll get them to start that. We'll send a letter to the police department saying you do the items that are on that maintenance list. And we will go from there and appoint the committee and let the committee handle what they want through Leonard Engineering.
So the only thing I have to point out, Ken, I think you probably heard this in the audience tonight, is they're looking for results. You know, I'm looking for results. We have some big projects coming down the road, but our residents in general just want to see something happen. Want to see where their money's going, and they want to see this project move along, and just enough talk and enough estimates and enough, this is what it could potentially cost, let's get this person in to look at this, and they're just result oriented. They want results, and I agree with them. So, we're hoping that this meeting will help facilitate that and get things moving soon.
I agree, I just think it's a matter of how much how much of the building you're gonna study at one point in time, and how you're gonna prioritize things. The Russo Bar estimate does, scope does include coming up with some costs. I just reviewed what it is. But it's initially looking more in-depth than the previous inspections, is what I've seen, just went through and said, yes, I think what people are saying here, geez, there's a problem here, there's a problem here, there's a problem there. The Russo Bar proposal, I think, I'll look at it in more depth with the committee. I think that's the right way to go. But just off the top of my head, so everybody knows what I'm thinking, I think the intent of that is to take a certain portion of the town hall building that was prioritized, look at it in more depth, look at the lead, look at the asbestos, look at the structural deficiencies, and then come up with specific recommendations relative to that area.
Yes, I believe it's a matter of the community prioritizing it.
Right, I mean, we certainly could go through the whole building and do a whole building.
We don't have the money to
analysis.
do the whole building.
Exactly.
We know that.
That's the reality. Right.
We know that. We started working off with this $173,000. We want to do as much as we can and get it done now.
Yeah.
Then we'll worry about if we get more money or another grant or whatever after that.
And as far as the door, that new committee will talk to you about the door. Please discuss it with them as to what should be done there also.
And it has to be a historically correct door.
Yeah. We have someone from,
So
has a license.
we'll go from there, and we will have your committee in 2 weeks and tell them to get a hold of you right away. And we thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good night. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the Senior Center Director position for candidate interview.
Mr. Chairman, before we get started, I don't want to say back to my wife, who's the chair of the board, the council on agent, so everybody knows. No deal.
Okay. Now, who are the council on aging? We asked for 2 or 3 names. Who are the council on aging giving to us?
Okay, we picked out 3 to interview. Before we could even interview, gentleman from Barry declined. We found out what the pay was. We picked another one. We had our 3 interviews. Kimberly Livingston declined when she knew what the pay was Friday afternoon. So the 2 candidates are here to meet you.
Okay, thank you.
We have Dennis Norrell and Sherwin Murray.
Very good. We have both of them come up front, please. Have a seat. Have a seat. Okay. What we're going to do, I'm going to turn it over to the members of the Board of Selectmen to ask questions and so forth if they have any. After the questions are asked, and they can pick any way and any way they want to go about doing that. Once the questions are asked, the board will take the answers and go from there. So, Mr. Lavash?
I was mentioning you, so I don't have a reference.
That's okay, go ahead, you're first.
That's right there, I don't have a reference.
No questions?
Already did.
All right.
I do. And this question goes for both candidates, and we'll start with Karen. Grant writing. I'm involved in food services. I write grants. It's a huge portion of my business that I'm in. It's a huge income to the senior center. The ability to write grants, to capture grants, to find grants, to help fund the programs that are needed there is extremely important. And I want to know from both of you, your experience with that, what you see moving forward, what you would bring to the table in sourcing out these revenues for our senior center to help better the senior center.
So no, I don't have experience currently with grant writing, though I have looked up classes to take. There's a lot of resources in Palmer. There's classes in Springfield, 1-day classes. I love taking classes. I'm a fast learner. I think I would be able to pick it up pretty quickly. I have looked at some of the I think I would be able to manage through those. I also worked in food service, though I did not do, as I said, grant service, grant writing. I have a lot of experience as far as I took classes on computer applications. I've done a lot of research on programs. Christine knows.
Okay, that's good, thank you. Dennis?
Hi.
Hello.
I also do not have any experience with grant writing. I would seek help. Whatever is available, like Sharon just said, if I can go to classes, I would be willing to do so. But to answer your question at this time, I don't have
Okay.
any.
Functions, senior centers are, they work off of functions, whether it's playing games, organizing trips to go to the casino, or things of that nature, parties, birthday parties now. You know, Armin and the council does a great job on the things that they do. I'm very proud of the senior center that we have. I've worked with the Palmer Senior Center, I've worked with the West Springfield Senior Center. They should be commended and proud of what they have right now. But in saying that, I would like to see them build off of that. I think there's a lot more to offer. I love seeing residents from other communities come to our senior center for lunch and to participate in the functions. I've been there during the birthday parties. It's a great atmosphere. It's something that really shows what our elderly community is, and I would like to see it grow more. What of any, or what would you propose, or what would you like to see, and Dennis can probably answer this better, changes, or what would you like to bring that's different that we don't presently have in our senior center, or what could you add to our senior center being new, that would help promote it and help it grow more than what it already is? And actually, I'm going to give this one to Dennis first, because you're an existing
Sure.
member.
What Armin has brought to the table, what he's done at the senior center, and to follow in his footsteps, and the birthday party, as you mentioned, is one of the things, and all the other activities that go on, the senior club that associates with the senior center, to add things right now. Well, we just added one more activity on a Thursday afternoon. They want to start with, see that. But I don't have anything pressing that, but I'd be open to ideas and.
Okay, that's good. Sharon?
Yeah, working in food service, I did organize, I was the head caterer at Anna Maria College. I would definitely love to see some more variety coming in for programs to bring more seniors in, make it more attractive and exciting. So.
Okay. Okay. David, do you have anything other that you would like to add?
I have a couple things. And I want to start with my one I always ask, because I didn't the last time, and I'm making darn sure I ask it this time. Dennis, registered voter?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. People laugh I said that, but we won't get into why, but. Dennis, do you know how municipal government works?
Yes.
Okay, explain to me what you know.
The leaders in the town, whether it be the mayor or the board of selectmen, and you have department heads of all your, in town, and one reports to the other until it gets to, in this case, the board of selectmen,
Okay, thank you.
in a nutshell.
Sharon, same question.
Well, that's kind of, well, yeah, no, definitely, I would be reporting to the Council of Aging, who would be reporting to, it does follow steps, and yes, there is ultimately the Board of Selectmen and the townspeople, I would think, would have a say.
I only asked that question is because a lot of people labor under the misconception that it works the same thing as non-municipal government. Not even close. There's a lot of things you have to do, excuse me, for your municipality that you don't have to do, and a lot of more responsibility in certain areas. Excuse me. And one of the biggest problems we run into occasionally is people expect the towns and municipalities to work the same way, and it's entirely different, whether it be how to get items on a warrant, whether how town meetings work and so forth. And I think that anybody that's in a position of responsibility has to know how that works. That was the reason for asking that question. Excuse me. What's the most important thing that you would anticipate if you were to get the job? What's the most important duty you have?
To the seniors, to bring programs to them, to see what their needs are, to make the senior center accessible to them, bringing the programs to them, getting grant money to help fund these programs, and just taking care of the seniors themselves.
Dennis?
Basically, Sharon named all of the items. The senior center helps the seniors. They call daily. Simple questions sometimes, you just give them a phone number. They want to know, how can I get in touch with Social Security or something? But they have questions all the time, and you're there to answer those questions. You're helping the seniors.
Okay, can you just, and I'll go to Dennis first. A brief description of your educational background, Dennis?
I just graduated high school, and the classes that I've taken in the past, since I've been on Council on Aging, past 6 to 7 years, I've taken classes for the seniors. I've gone to conferences that had workshops. In the past 2 years, I went to new director training in anticipation of Armin retiring. Had an inkling he may get to that point, which he has. So that's the training that I've had.
Okay.
The training I've had, of course, as you see by my resume, I've worked with seniors for over 25 years. I started as a home health aide, one-on-one, very personal. You learn their needs and what they want. I then went to school later on. I have a degree, an associate degree in Foundations of Health, which is a little bit of everything, a little social work, a little medical background. I've taken the study of aging, I've taken nutrition classes, I have my certified nurses certificate. So I think it's a pretty well-rounded education.
Okay. Theoretical situation. We have a cook at the senior center that provides hot meals to the elderly, 5 days a week. Cook doesn't show up, what do you do?
I can jump in and do that because I have worked in food service. And actually, a situation like that did arise. I was catering for the Board of Trustees and the president one winter morning, and I showed up and the cook had called in, and my runner was a college student who didn't show up also. I was completely alone. I made one quick phone call to my boss and said, I have no one here. I don't have time to make phone calls. Can you do that for me? He was at the Cape. Absolutely. I said, you won't get here in time. I'm going to start cooking, and that's what I did. I made extra of everything so that I wouldn't run out. And I was doing the omelets to order, actually, at this board meeting. And luckily, everything went well, and I brought plenty of stuff, nothing ran out, because I was nervous. You know, you don't want to let the Board of Trustees and the president know, yeah, your function's being handled by one person. That would not have been well. But they didn't know, hopefully they don't know now, and it went very well. So
Okay.
I have no problem jumping in and doing that.
All right. I don't want to ask the same question because, let me ask this question, another theoretical situation, Dennis. You're the director of the council, of the Senior Council on Aging, or whatever you want to call it. You get the job. You have a son, daughter that comes to you and says, I want to lease the I want to use the building for an event. What do you do?
We have a contract. They fill out a contract with their, name, address, phone number, and why they want to use the senior center. And we rent it to them.
Okay. this is for both of you, I don't, whatever way you want it. You're aware of the fact that before anybody gets appointed, we're going to do some checking, okay? That'll include driver's licenses and quarries and quarry check and so forth. Is there any problem with us doing that?
No.
Okay. That, let's see, just to make sure I don't have anything else. All right, that's about what I have. Anything from anybody else at this stage?
I have something. Sharon, right now, you're presently at Brookhaven?
I am.
If you were offered the position, how much time would you have to give them?
None right now, because while I was in school, I'm only there Saturdays and Sundays. I have another job that I work nights, so I've kind of kept it open for the right job. I'm looking for more of a challenge. This is perfect for me.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
I have one, I gotta go back to Dennis. Dennis, going back to the, somebody asking, one of your son or your daughter asking to be able to use the building, and you said you have a form that they have to fill out. And if they filled the form out and so forth, who would make that decision of whether they could use it or not?
The director,
Thank you. And so you would make that decision?
absolutely.
Okay. I have nothing else.
I don't either.
What's the pleasure of the board? Take the matter and do some checking?
We have to do a quarry check.
Okay, well,
It's fair to say we have to do the quarry check, we have to do the
We
background
have to
check,
do
so we have to
that.
get that done first.
We're not
I
getting-
would want to make I wouldn't want to make a recommendation, appoint somebody if they didn't come back with a favorable quarry. So I think we need to do the quarry check and the backgrounds before we can
And we'll
appoint.
notify them both.
yep, we will,
Notify 'em both.
we'll be doing the checks, we'll get them done as soon as we possibly can. In order to do the quarry and/or the background check, we're gonna need a signed, so you'll have to check with Lorena, so that you sign off allowing us to do that. And we will make some type of decision probably within at the next meeting.
Correct.
And we thank both of you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And you stay over here, yes.
I'm gonna take about a 5-minute recess so we can get that paperwork. Stanley, you're up as soon as we come back.
The paperwork you're talking about is for us?
Are you local?
I am. Can I respond to you tomorrow? Absolutely. Do you want me to come in?
Why don't you just give me your phone number? I can either email or call you. Yep. Do you have your license? I'll copy them.
I've had so many stories and worries, so absolutely.
Yeah, I just.
When you work in healthcare.
Yeah.
He sent me an email. He sent me an email.
You slide it out?
That's what it was on. That's what's so make me pull it out.
We usually have the app, I love the app. Downside. Well, it depends on where you're getting it. My eyes don't go when I was 5 years old.
I don't know where I'm going. I was thinking going back up. I knew, I thought you said.
break the monotony. I have a little story. Back July 11th, my wife and I decided to partake in the town auction. And it was interesting and informative. Now, my wife and I talked to people, and we tried to get in a house and we couldn't. And the properties varied in value based upon what you had. The first property had a little over an acre, house was so-so, it was worth money. I talked to the people that were bidding on it. They came from Munson, locally, Wilbraham, and they were interested. My point at this being that people are interested in properties. Those two letters, gentlemen, are two people that were upset about not getting the bid on the house I wanted to discuss with them. The second house, same thing, had its pluses, had its minuses. An auction is an auction is an auction. It's not a tag sale. The house in question, my wife and I didn't go to. We figured we had seen enough, we knew what the process was, and know what was going on. The one in question was, the reason I'm in here, I was approached and I had a phone call by a gentleman, and he told me that he had tried to bid on a house, and nobody wanted it, and jokingly, somebody said $7,000, and he was ignored, rightfully so. This man bid $15,000, and nobody was bidding against him, nobody was responsive, and the auctioneer at this point says, "You own it, I award it to you." The auctioneer then proceeded to go to the two town representatives, and they came back and made a counter offer of $17,500. And as my questionnaire, it was a no-brainer, it was gonna go anywhere. My question is, for $2,500, the difference between what was offered and what was requested, the house could have been back on the tax rolls. The house would have been repaired, painted, maintained, been two apartment houses, some people come to the community, and some people in town would have made money. I don't see the logic behind not selling a house for $15,000. Now, I'd like an answer.
That would be me. I was there because I happened to be the tax title custodian. We put a price on that house, minimum price of $20,000. We weren't gonna, you had your turn, let me have my turn. We weren't gonna let that house go for less than $20,000.
Why'd you say $17,500?
Because we got 15, so we were gonna try and come down to 17.5, so he'd buy it. He wouldn't come up to 17.5. The house is worth well over 20,000. The people in this town have a right to get the money that that house is worth. It's not my house. I don't get any of the money, I don't care. That's my job, is to try and get as much money for that house as I can. We will re-auction that house this fall, and I'll guarantee you we'll be over 20,000.
You're gonna guarantee me that?
Yeah.
You're gonna get 20 grand?
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember that.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you something else. A house, a building, or a car is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. So you can put any price you want on it. If somebody doesn't want to get the price, you're not gonna get it. As it stands now, you get no tax dollars. The house is still a disaster, and I guarantee you, it won't sell for 20.
You guarantee me that.
You can't bid on it.
No, I got news for you. I got news for you. The gentleman that bid on it can't bid on it either.
Why is that?
Because he's on the finance committee. He never disclosed the fact that he was on the finance committee.
What is that? Is that in writing? Is that in writing?
Is that in writing, Deb?
Tom, what do you want to say?
What's the address of this residence?
Quabog Street.
Quabog Street.
105 Quabog.
Thank you.
Let me back up one step. When I first got the call, I said, that doesn't sound right. It should have been sold as an auction. If you get 15 taken, you made a mistake in my opinion. I told this man to call Mr. Nardi. I said, Dario, is what I whatever. He made the phone call, and a couple hours later, he called me back, and he's here, so if I'm lying, he can tell me. He said, Mr. Nardi checked with Mr. Delanski, and they said that's not right. I said, good. Now let's continue.
Let me say this, all right? And there's two parts to this answer. You have to listen to it. I'm not going to address the finance committee things. I don't know the answer to that one, so I'm not going to address, I can't address that. We can find out, but I don't know it. I don't know the answer. I know that if you're on the finance committee, you can't be on any other committee in town, and I know that for a fact, but I don't know if they're paying anything else. Now, this is my personal opinion, please, okay? Would I have sold the house? Yes. Okay?
Common sense.
Now, however, I also have to say this. First thing I did when I heard about not selling, is I knew we were gonna get complaints. I requested to see the advertisement the way it was put in the paper, okay? Okay, there was one person only that could have said, the auctioneer couldn't say it, and there was one person, which was the custodian of the whole thing, which happened to be Mr. Lavash. It was advertised in the newspaper as that way, okay? So if you're asking if anything illegal was done, I have to tell you no, okay? If you're asking me if I would have sold the house, the answer is yes.
In my humble opinion, it was a mistake. And I think deep down inside you know it was. Next question. The next house went for 7,000. Why didn't he ask for 8?
On North Street, you know what? That house may not be standing if we get a big storm.
I'm trying to correlate.
I understand.
You correlate by what we thought the house was worth. That house was worth anything we could get for it.
That, the house that you're talking about on North Street there's a lot of circumstances that you can't tell from the outside. The town at one point went out and got bids to try to tear it down, okay? The cost of tearing it down, do you remember what that cost was? About 30 grand, I think? 20?
22.
Okay, cost to tear it down and get rid of it and just have the building lot was 22,000. That's probably the reason it started at 7. Now, you have to remember one thing. None of these figures came before the Board of Selectmen. Board of Selectmen had nothing to do with the amounts. That was all done by the, go ahead.
By who?
Oh, by the treasurer.
Mr. Schloss.
That's correct.
So he's gone. This is what's going.
No, he just happens to be in charge of that, okay?
The house on North Street, the kids are broken into. They've literally torn a wall down between the two apartments. The plaster and everything is all over the floor. They've got spray bombs and spray bombs and spray bombs inside the house, writing all kinds of stuff all over the wall. They destroyed that house. You're lucky you got 7,000 for it.
So why'd you ask that? Why don't you try to get 4? Sell it.
What?
Why don't you try to sell it before? Get some money.
What did they sell it for?
So,
We sold it for more than 4.
that, all I can answer to you for that is, it's legal. I wouldn't have done it, but it's legal, and I can't say anybody did anything wrong.
That was never my.
Oh, I understand, I'm trying to answer the question, that's all.
My concern was, you got a house now that's still in how long has it been vacant?
Long time.
Long time, so for a long time, you get any tax dollars at all. You sold it for 50.
Do you know how long it takes us to get ownership of that house, that we can do anything with it?
I have no idea.
Probably 5 years.
I have no idea.
Before they stop paying taxes on it long enough, it's 2 or 3 years before it even gets to the treasurer. It takes another couple of years to go into the court. After the court decides we can have the house, you have to wait for another year before you can do anything with it.
So
it's been years.
Okay, so what you're telling me, there's still a lot of houses in town.
Yeah.
That should go in the auction block. Who's working on this? What time frame do we have?
We're gonna do another one in the fall.
That quick?
Yeah.
You just told me it takes years.
No, it takes years to own them. We own all the other ones. It took years to own those ones you're talking about. We got 50,000 for the one on Venus. We got 37,000 for the one on South Street.
33 and
We got 35,000 for the one on Main Street.
33.
And we dumped the one on North Street. And we didn't sell the one on Grayburg Street. Could it have been a mistake? Possible.
That made my day.
Go ahead.
I just have a quick question about that property. Should it not sell for the 20, will we keep it on the books until you get the 20,000, or will you cut your losses at some point?
We put that price at 20,000.
I understand that, but are you gonna cut your loss at some point and say, we put it through 2 auctions, we
Maybe.
can't get the 20,
It's
so
possible.
we're gonna let it go for less money?
I don't think it is. I think it's gonna go for more money.
I'm just
It's
trying
got
to
water,
figure out how long.
it's got water, it's got sewer, it's walking distance to the school. The one you're talking about on North Street had no water. And it's destroyed.
That's really not my question, Mr. Lavash. My question is, if it doesn't sell for the 20, are we gonna let that house go the next auction in order to get it off the books and to move forward?
I don't know how to answer that question. Because I think it is. If it really didn't go next, yeah, the logical thing would be to bring it down till it sells. I think it's gonna sell.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and just to follow up on what he was saying is, if it doesn't go for 20, and say somebody else, or if that's what you're looking for is 20, and nobody gets it, is it possible that the prior bidder from the past auction could re-get that, or does he have to be there present
No,
to get?
those bids are dead at this time.
Okay.
Now, if it was me, and I have no idea what's gonna happen, it's not, after talking about it and hearing about it, okay, just wanted to check some things to make sure everything was done the way it was supposed to be, and it was. If it was me, and we were gonna put it back up on the market, I would go as a sealed bid type of thing. Which basically means it'd sell.
That's a different process.
It would sell, okay?
Go for 10.
Could go
This
for
is-
anything.
This
Could
is
go for
also
5.
the first time we've done this. So it's also a learning process for us.
But that way, highest bid gets it. But the main idea for the town is to try to get all the places taxes aren't being paid on, back on the books. That's, however that's done.
But you shouldn't be giving them away.
So even at this point, even if it was realized that it was a mistake, there's no going back anyway?
No.
You can't do it. Auction was basically done, the bid was rejected under the rules of when the advertisement was put in the
And again,
paper.
that's municipal law that he was talking about before. We've got so many rules that we gotta go by.
If it hadn't said on the advertisement, that's what I checked out. If it hadn't said on the advertisement that the custodian, or whatever you want to call it.
Can I read this?
If it hadn't said that they had the right to reject the bid,
This is number 11 on the sheet.
it would have been
On the
sold.
sheet that all the houses were listed on and it's posted by the constable. Number 11 is the custodian reserves the right to reject any bid at the auction or any adjournment thereof, which is, in his or her opinion, does not meet the minimum bid or the approximate fair value of the property. That's on what was posted.
And that's what I checked right after when people started calling me, I wanted to make sure that was in there. That was the first thing I checked.
End of story.
So I guarantee it'll go back on the market. How it goes back on whether it be an auction or sealed bids, it could be either one.
So to clarify my position on this, since I'm pretty much the only one who hasn't spoken, Mr. Russ did email me. I agree with David. I thought it should have been released. I researched it. I asked Mr. Lavash. I asked Mr. Slotstein questions regarding this. We're going to make money on some, lose money on some. I do think the property has more value to it, but it is going to come at an added cost to re-auction the property. We're a municipality. I mean, we want to make as much as we possibly can, but like you said, you want to get it back on the books. You want to get it rehabbed. You want to get people living in there, especially if it can stay within the town residents. It's nice. So, yeah, I may have disagreed with that. That's personally my opinion. I'm not the custodian of the auction. I'm not the treasurer, but I voice my opinions to both, and we have to go from there. But Mr. Lavash is the custodian of the auction, so he has the right to reject that. those bids. And I can't change that, Mr. Delansky can't change that, but we can give you our opinion on how we thought it should have gone.
Appreciate it. Now, I will say one other thing, and I'd have to check the legality of it. If someone were to present a article for town meeting, and that article to say that they wanted to purchase it for that amount and give an explanation, and if the people voted for it, I would have to check into it, but it would be possible that that would be legal.
I don't think it'll go through state law.
Yeah, we've done it before.
Okay.
We've had some sections of property that we wanted to get rid of, and we went to town meeting, and we actually, without bidding or anything else, we sold them to the two abutters. So I'm not saying you can do it, I'd have to check into it, or you could check into it on the, but townspeople have a right to vote, and that might be another way to do it. Like I said, I'm just trying to give you the option.
I heard.
Other than that, I thank you all for coming in as far as on that issue. If there's anything you want to talk to the board about, that would be fine, but again, it was not illegal. Next item on the agenda is Mass Works application, and Mr. Scanlon.
Good evening. I've been working with the Howard Surveyor on submitting an application under the Mass Works Infrastructure Grant Program to replace the culvert under School Street, on Spring Street.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, Bill, before we go on, okay? I think it has nothing to do with the possible solar farm on the end of Spring Street, but I want to make sure, and I'm going to specifically ask that question to you, okay? And I'll tell you why. You already know, but I'm going to tell you. I am an abutter to an abutter for the possibility of that solar farm. If it has anything to do with the solar farm, I am not voting on it, okay?
Okay. The justification for the project is that there's been flooding in that neighborhood as a result of beaver dam breaches upstream in the Palmer Wildlife Management Area. Those beaver dams create large pools of water with many heavy rains. At least on 2 occasions in 2013, huge torrents of water came rushing down that brook. The culvert was not big enough under Spring Street to accommodate all of that water, so it caused considerable damage to homes in the neighborhood and to Route 67 further downstream. So the purpose of the application is to enlarge the culvert to prevent future incidents like that from causing property damage to residences and businesses in that area. Now, the grant application references the solar farm, which is in that area. It's not directly near the beaver dams that are releasing, but one has to travel over Spring Street to get to the site of the solar farm. So I thought it would strengthen the application if we said that there was some investment going on in the area to help justify the application. As a grant writer, we try to make as many arguments as we can for why the project should be funded. And the fact that this is really intended to promote economic development and to enhance public safety, I thought it made sense to reference the proposed solar farm. But the solar farm is not related to the actual application, it just happens to be in that area. And I'm saying that as a result of approving this project, that will help the solar farm to go forward. So therefore, there's a connection in terms of making the grant application more attractive to the funding agencies. So that's why that's referenced in the application. This program, as I mentioned, is part of the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development. There are a couple of categories, some of which are intended to provide infrastructure such as water and sewer services for housing and economic development. But there's a category called the Small Town Road Assistance Program, which is the category that we're going in for. And that's for towns under 7,000 people. So So Warren definitely qualifies under that category. And it's intended to help small towns like Warren pay for large extensive road projects, which the towns just don't have the money to pay for on their own. So we intend to apply for this project to replace the culvert. And as part of that project, the highway surveyor would like to contribute Chapter 90 monies in the amount of $40,000 to repave Spring Street and to improve the sidewalks there. Now, the total cost of the application, the total grant request is $344,000, which includes $64,000 in engineering, $284,000 of construction, for $344,000, plus the local match of $40,000, to bring the total project cost up to $388,000. There is no particular limit to what we can apply for. Other towns have gotten like $500,000, so we are within the limit of the program, I feel. And I think we have a pretty good chance of funding because of the public safety aspects of this particular situation. I've asked Tom to come to explain in highway terms why the project is necessary and what he hopes to accomplish by going for this grant money.
Thank you. As Mr. Scanlon said, we've been working pretty close together. He's definitely taking the lead on this, and thank him for that, with everything. The project, as you're well aware of, has had some flooding issues. The culvert itself, the cost replacement for what would be engineered specs is $35,000 just to purchase the culvert. No delivery, no install, no nothing. So the significance of the grant to complete this whole project would be a huge plus for the community down there, as well as the safe access for the solar field if that were to go in, which is looking pretty promising. I have some letters of support from surrounding towns of Palmer, Ware. Representative Smoller is supposed to be getting me a letter very shortly, and I also have a letter from Mr. Bill Patarlo, if I pronounce his name wrong, who is the DOT District 2 supervisor down here on Route 19 on the Mass Pike. And it was his department that was responsible for the cleanup of both breaches when the dam broke on Route 67. So the culvert replacement is the major part of the project. As Mr. Scanlon pointed out too, I'm looking to contribute approximately $40,000 of Chapter 90 money. And what that would be used for would be to resurface the remaining part of the street. And because Spring Street abuts Route 67, which is a state highway, it would have to follow the complete streets design scheme in Massachusetts now, which includes sidewalks and other aspects related to public safety on a public road. So we're here to ask for the authorizations to submit the grant. I've talked to an engineer in it. Bill and I have been working with a little bit to get some of these design costs and so forth. He thinks it looks pretty promising, and I'm just like to submit the application and see if we can get something positive to rebuild that culvert and road for the residents down there.
I have one question. So you're talking about, and I know which culvert you're talking about, all right? What about the culvert that's downstream? Would that be able to handle the runoff? If we increase the size of that culvert or fix the culvert that you're talking about on Spring Street, and you go down and follow that brook or whatever you want to call it down, and you come to Route 67 and Route 32, and you have two houses right there that have had damage in the past to their property for overflow and everything like that. If we fix that problem, are we creating another problem further downstream?
It's not necessarily creating another problem. It doesn't, the culvert replacement would just help alleviate the flood potential. You could put a 30-foot bridge down there, and if there was enough water behind the beaver dam, it would still flood.
Well, that's my question though. Are we making the problem worse if we put a bigger thing on Spring Street knowing full well that it still has to go down through the other culvert that goes under 67 into the river. Okay, are we increasing the problem that could happen at that culvert if we allow more water to pass through the one on Spring Street?
It wouldn't create more of a problem, it would just change the floodplain. It would change the floodplain downstream depending on the amount of water that went through.
My point exactly. You're taking the floodplain from one area and moving it down to the other area.
But it would still, even with this culvert proposed with that much water, it would still flood.
I mean, all we can do is fix the town's problem, that 67 is a state highway.
Mhm.
The town has no jurisdiction over that, so they are aware of that issue, and it's up to them to fix their problem. And all we can do is go after this grant money to fix the town's road.
Would that urge the state to then act upon that, so that, because we're going after one portion of it, will they follow in turn? and
Probably
fix
not.
the other?
Probably not. Their way of fixing 67 was to put this little berm up, okay, on both sides of the road. I have no confidence in them coming down, because that culvert that we're talking, as you know, the culvert that we're talking about goes under 67, under other people's property, all the way into the Quabog River.
I mean, I don't know what the state is gonna do to answer that question. I
Mhm.
would hope that they would see the wisdom of enlarging their culvert, but, you know, it's up to them to make that call. We've been in contact with them, Thomas talked to them about it, they're aware of the situation, but we don't have any control over it.
So if you increase the size of that pipe, the same amount of water is gonna go by it and go down the bottom anyway.
Well, it'll go under Spring Street and eliminate the problem in that neighborhood.
Yeah, but it'll be the go under it or over it if you get that much water coming down.
Well, hopefully, you know, we can design it large enough to accommodate that flow. It's the engineer's call as to how big a pipe size to put in there.
I think you can alleviate the problem in the Spring Street area, and I think it's a good idea to do that. But I think you're gonna make the problem further down worse. If you got more water coming through, okay, a bigger pipe, and it's coming through at a higher rate, you're definitely gonna make the problem downstream worse.
But wouldn't it only do that when it floods?
Yes.
Yeah, but you're still, right now, we're saying we want to, and I understand, I think we should help those people that live in back of me, don't get me wrong. I think we should help them, because they've always had a problem with that little brook. But I think that, is it fair, and my question, is it fair to fix their problem, but make the urban's problem and the other people's problem
But that's
more
what I'm
of a
saying,
problem?
I think a million gallons of water is coming down off the hill, it's gonna get to the bottom, whether it goes through the pipe or over it, one way or the other, it's gonna get to that bottom.
Right.
Certainly, but I think what you're going to do is wash away more of the land, because you're directing it. If you make it bigger and it's gonna go underneath, you're making more of a flow. So you're gonna make the problem, somewhere along the line, you're gonna make it worse. And my guess would be right at that area.
It's only gonna make it worse if there's more water.
I understand, but you're gonna have more water because you're fixing the pipe that's gonna allow more water to go through at one time.
Yeah, but that's what we're saying, the water's gonna go through anyway, whether it
It's
goes over
either
the
gonna go
road or
over it
under
or
it.
through it.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what's downstream, they're gonna get the same amount of water. It's all going to the Quabog River eventually. How it chooses to get there depends on the volume that comes down.
Yeah, but what you're going to do right now, the reason that the people down there have problems, and I think we should fix it, but they have problems is it backs up and floods, okay? Brook, I mean, it's a little itty bitty brook until it goes crazy. When it goes crazy, it gets pretty deep. But the people that have the problem now with the cellars flood and everything else, they came in here to tell us about it. If their cellar's flooding and their house is flooding and they have to come through my yard to get to Spring Street because it's so flooded, okay, that flood's not gonna be there anymore because you're gonna fix the pipe so that everything can go through it. So we fixed that problem, which is a good thing.
Well, all I can tell you is that the town has considerable expenses when this situation occurs. We have the highway department, the fire department is up there, the police department, taking care of the public safety issues and assisting residents whose properties are flooded and sometimes they need to be evacuated. So at least in this situation, we can make their lives better and improve the town residents' situations around Spring Street. What happens downstream, I know is an issue, and, you know, I can't disagree with what you say, because there's still gonna be the same amount of water going through there. But again, all we can do is fix the
Spring
town
Street.
situation.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
I got one. Well, you read that, it said the grant is for 340,000, and we have to come up with 40,000?
We don't have to, there is no match requirement, but Tom feels it's important to take this opportunity to pave Spring Street because we have that road under
Okay.
construction at the present time and it needs it, so why not do it now rather than postpone it? So it's an optional match on the town's part.
It's very beneficial for the grant recipients to see that the town's gonna contribute some money.
Then I would make a motion that we would approve the application.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Mine's no.
Top page, David.
Hmm?
Top page.
So my suggestion is you retype this because I'm not signing it.
So you're not willing to submit an application to see if we get approved?
I am not willing to move fix somebody's problem and make somebody else's problem worse. I'm not willing to do that. I'm gonna take $40,000 of our own money to fix a drain that, because we need to,
$40,000 is going to fix the road.
fine. I don't have a problem with the $40,000 to fix the road. But I'm not gonna sign for to fix a problem and just shift it to another area. We had problems with the gentleman that lives downstream, Mr. Urban, had problems the last time. Some of his bankings and stuff closed in. I don't think we ever did anything about that. But we are rightfully gonna fix something upstream. I can't in all good conscience, unless we were to get somehow, be able to fix the downstream section too. I'm not willing to shift where the problem is from one area to another.
Any reason why?
Why would I want to take something that, this actually helps me, okay? If I were to sign
Why would you
this,
not want to improve the situation of a whole residential area?
because you're shifting it to a different residential area. You got 2 votes, nothing I can do about it.
Trying to
So,
get to the base of the issue.
hmm?
Just trying to get to the base of the issue.
That's the issue. The issue is, what are we going to do? What are we gonna tell Mr. Urban the next time his flood's out? Because we've now drained the water that usually stays there downstream to somebody else. What are we gonna tell him? Well, we wanted to fix the Spring Street problem, but we created yours worse. Well, you're gonna have to live with it, but we fixed that one. I agree we should fix Spring Street, but I also think we have to fix his.
It's not gonna create a problem worse. It just depends on the amount of water.
It all depends on the amount of water. That's the issue. And besides that, you got it. It's 2-to-1 vote.
I
So,
think what Tom is saying is that area would still flood regardless of whether we fix Spring Street or not. So we're really not affecting those properties. We're not making their situation worse, but we are.
but I think you are gonna make it worse. Because I think you're gonna take, if indeed that what we used to flood doesn't flood anymore, there's gonna be more water coming through earlier. I mean, yes, it'll all drain through eventually, but you're going to take the water that would have backed up, okay? And again, I think it should be fixed. I'm not saying it shouldn't be fixed. You're gonna take the water that backed up, it's not gonna back up anymore, so that means there's gonna be more water that goes through at a quicker rate. So you can't tell me it's the same thing, because the water's not gonna be on Spring Street. It's gonna be down the thing, and it just means that they're gonna have more in a quicker time. If they're gonna have the same amount of water overall at the end, yeah, but you're gonna have more quicker.
Okay. Well, we'll work with DOT to try to get them to fix that situation as well. That's all we can do at this point.
So, it passes, all you gotta do is redo this, and have the vice chairman sign.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Munger, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I do. I think, Tom, what my question would be is, you're creating a larger opening, just based, I mean, I'm no engineer.
I'm not either.
But you're creating a bigger opening at one end of a waterway. And now you're putting a larger culvert into an existing smaller waterway. So at some point, there's pressure of water that's gonna back up somewhere there. It can't, the smaller culverts can't accommodate what the larger culvert is creating.
Right.
Okay?
But that's not the base of the issue here, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yep, I disagree. That is the basis of the
Are
issue.
the houses in wetland anyway? I mean, are they built alongside wetlands?
One of the homes is in a floodplain.
It is in a floodplain.
Yes.
You know, and so down on 67, where Whiskey Hill hits at 67, there's two houses there that are clearly right within the floodplain as well. So they're gonna be affected by that probably as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it seems as though if you're gonna fix a great problem upstream, the whole thing should be fixed. And if 67 is the issue, then we need to get to the state.
Yeah, that's what he's saying, that's not our property, that's state.
But it doesn't mean it's not our problem. There are citizens, and we need to make sure.
Didn't
that
say our problem, I said our property.
Let me say this, though. If you're going to say that, then the person, that the property that's causing the problem is the state's property. Is the beaver dam and everything is on state property. So let them fix that,
Oh, is
and we
that
wouldn't
true?
have the problem.
Yeah.
Correct.
Have you considered trapping these things?
We already did.
We do.
We've trapped them. Anytime it looks like
We do it yearly.
the dam is getting bigger, we go up and trap them. Tom goes up
That's
and
wet
traps
feet
them.
from catching.
We trap them, they come back, we trap them, they come back.
We-
How far away you take them? How far away you take
We have a
them?
trapper do it.
You know where the OKOA was? That's where they come from.
Oh, boy.
That's what I mean. The beaver dam is up there at Okabashka's Pond.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a considerable expense the town has to just keep that situation under control. Tom has to go up there on a
I
periodic
absolutely
basis.
agree.
We have to track
I'm
costs.
I'm not against fixing
When
that
you-
problem,
when you
but I
go
don't
down-
want to make this one worse.
When you go down Spring Street, I know that everything on the right is flooded. You go down there, it's halfway up the side of a truck. Is the side on the right all flooded also, where you can see right there?
Yes,
So it's flooding beyond that pipe anyway.
correct.
Why did they build a house in the floodplain?
House has been there forever.
Yeah, the house was probably there before the floodplain.
My guess that house is, my house, the houses I own, not the house I live in, but the one next door, have been there since 1904.
When you're looking at your house, which one is that? The one on the right or the one on the
One on the left. The house that's getting flooded, you know where my driveway is?
Yeah.
Goes
One.
straight back.
There's three of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go straight back.
Yeah, I was
That-
on Spring Street, looking at it down Spring Street. For that matter, the beaver was down there swimming around the damn pond that they just created.
So Tom, is the culvert that you're putting in beyond those houses to get that fixed too, or is it in front of those houses?
It's beyond one of them, it's in front of three.
So the people that are in back are still gonna have to deal with this flooding issue?
Because of the culvert on Route
Because,
67.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what we want to try to do is act now, because we have this
Mhm.
opportunity to apply for this funding. And then hopefully the state will come in and fix their culvert before we have another event that's gonna damage that whole neighborhood.
Let me ask you, Bill, you've been in Central Mass Regional Planning for a long time. What is the chances in your mind that the state's ever gonna do that?
Well, I think, we're putting them in a situation where they're not gonna have a choice.
But they put us in a situation because they're the ones that own the old KOA property.
Well, we have this letter from Mr. Partello that indicated something like $70,000 to make their repairs to
Mhm.
67. It'd be cheaper for them to just fix the culvert than to keep having to go back and fixing the road after it's destroyed.
Oh, I agree. If part of this was to say, part of this was going to be that the state agrees to fix the other culvert, this wouldn't be a problem. I just know how much water comes down there already. But you got the money anyways. I mean, you got the right for the grant. You got 2-to-1 vote. That's not a problem. I just don't want, no matter what I do in this, I'm either gonna have the people in back of me not happy, or the people down the road not happy. But the people in back are getting it anyway, so.
It's tough when it's behind your house. Okay,
All right.
moving on.
Lorena will retype that letter. Just put the.
On the front page.
Put the, yep, and put Mr. Lavash's signature on it instead of mine.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Oh,
you.
by the way, before you go.
Yes.
Friends of the Town Hall, we're going to, can we send a letter to, again, that, part of that same letter we're gonna send to the planning board about, and just request if something, Mr. Scanlon at some point in time can see if he can find something for the fixing, get money for the town hall. Last time we looked at it, Bill, we did look at it already. Last time we looked at it, they weren't willing to give us any grant money until the police department was moved out. They said they'd give it to us, but only if we moved out the police department, which is a catch-22 situation.
Well, one thought I had maybe would be to apply for green communities funding before your board a couple of years ago to talk about
Yep.
that. Towns have gotten $250,000 to do energy conservation and efficiency improvements. So
Yep.
if we targeted the town hall for that, we could do a considerable amount of work on the heating system there.
Yeah, we received, you probably already know, we received the grant already once to fix the roof,
Correct.
which I think was about $250,000, if I remember right. So if there's something comes up that we can get more money to help fix it, let's
I'll
do
come
it.
back at a future meeting and we can talk about that program
Okay,
and see whether you want to go for it.
very good.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is standard agreement for limited professional service, Quinn Engineering. Okay, wait a minute here. We haven't got... Is that on the agenda too?
Yes, it's number 12.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. So I would accept a motion to authorize the chair to sign the standard agreement for limited engineering.
So moved. Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any requests for discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next item is Chapter 90 Highway Materials, various contracts. Tom?
Didn't know that was on the agenda.
All right, I'll give you that.
That's the sale of public.
Yep. Yep.
That's the listing.
So there's
The
the
list of
listing.
contracts.
So, these are all the low bid?
If you can read them, I can confirm based on what's written, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it this way. I would entertain a motion to award the following contracts. Winter Sand Fountain and Sons Fuel Company, Heating Oil Fountain and Sons Fuel Company, Ultra Low Sulfur Diesel Fuel Fountain and Sons Fuel Company. Fiscal year 215 hired equipment, Fountain and Sons Fuel Company, cold patch crushed asphalt, 2 to 3 inches, tailings riprap, Bond Construction Corp. DBA Bonds sand, gravel, and asphalt. 10% chip rubber seal, all states asphalt in, 3/4 inch washed stone crushed gravel, 3 inch, 5 inch tailings, FT Smith Trucking and Excavations, including DBA FT Smith Sand and Gravel, bituminous concrete in place, Palmer Paving, bituminous concrete driveway aprons, Palmer Paving, Crack Sealing Inc., Guardrail, Commonwealth Guardrail Inc., Cape Seal Seal Coating Inc., and Cold in Place Asphalt Recycling from Gorman Brothers Inc.
Correct.
Motion
And
made.
Make a motion to accept the bids.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any requests for discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have the fiscal year 14 fourth quarter fire department ambulance abatements. Yeah, we need a motion to approve the abatements.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I will make a motion that we approve the abatement. Should I read the whole thing from the chief?
Sure.
Read it in total. Dear board members, it's a breakdown of the ambulance abatements for the fourth quarter FY14 are as follows. The board will need to write off said totals for accounting purposes. Thank you. Insurance disallowed for April, $16,552.24. Bad debt was zero. Total was $16,552.24. For May, the amount was $22,000 for insurance disallowed, $22,786.41. Bad debt was zero. Total was $22,785.41. And for the month of June, the insurance disallowed was $10,523.28. The bad debt incurred was $963.54 for a total of $11,486.